Greetings to all the guest speakers, delegates, and observers present here. It's an honor and a privilege to host Colonel Parab School's first edition of Inter-School Model United Nations in association with India's largest youth organization, IIMUN. At first, the organization will like to express gratitude towards the panelists, guest speakers, and performers who've come here to enlighten our delegates of the opening ceremony, the panel discussion. Firstly, I would like to introduce our team, coming to our own, Mrs. Rana. She is a gold medalist from Delhi University and a postgraduate in nutrition with a bachelor's degree in education. With 40 years of teaching and administrative experience behind her, she started the Icon Public School at Ahmednagar, which is now a senior secondary CBSE school of repute. Besides being the founder, principal, director of the school, she is a trainer for soft skills and personality development. She is also a parenting coach and a member of WICCI. She is the recipient of many awards and honors in the field of education, including the Sanjeevani Seed of Knowledge Award, Leading Educationist of the Year Award, and Mother Teresa Foundation Award for contribution to education and social welfare. She is a published author of several books on communication skills and spoken English. She is also a resource person for CBSE and President Sahodaya. She is a motivational speaker and a life skills coach. She is also an ardent traveler and a travel blogger. Her interests and talents are multifold and her personality multidimensional. But above all, she is an educator with a mission to bring in innovation in education to make it effective and realistic, and believes in a system that will keep up with progressive thought and lead the new generation towards developing life skills. Breaking news is that she is also turning into a Hindi poet. She believes in the maxim, life is not counted in the years you spend on this earth, but in the number of lives you touch in a lifetime. Now I would like to request the panelists to give their esteemed opinion on the topic, role of youth in nation building, for guiding our delegates. Now I would like to call upon our own Mrs. Rana.
Thank you so much, Yashwardhan. I'm really honored to be in this forum where such distinguished guests and such brilliant youth are participating. So, what I'd like to say about this particular topic is that just the word youth, when I say it, the word energizes me. It's a time when you have dreams in your eyes, fire in your heart, and life is not yet polluted by disappointments, disillusionment, cynicism, and other harsh realities. So this is the time when, among other emotions, patriotism is at its peak. Therefore, the youth of the country is the biggest asset. Now, if you go by statistics, it's the young soldiers who bash on regardless in the battlefield. It's the youth that brings about revolution. It's the youth that changes mindsets and thinking and brings about progressive change. So, and in India is a very young country, like Dr. Bora said. It's every third person in the Indian city is a youth. What a waste if we do not harness this energy and use it in nation building. So, and if we do not harness it, the energy is not going to dissipate. It will get diverted towards destructive activities, and that is very dangerous. So that is why we need to steer the youth towards nation building by offering opportunities for greater political participation, and we need to engage them at the policy level so that they know that their voice counts. And, their dreams are realized. Also because they are the greatest stakeholders in India. It's the youth that will bear the brunt if we do not take these future-friendly decisions. So it is very imperative that the voice of the youth gets the right platform. It is necessary that the youth gets to exercise their freedom of speech, opinion, and ideas. It's important that we do not show off their ideas that what do you know, you are young, you lack experience, these kind of statements. Today's youth is very, very aware They make up amply for the experience in years with their vastness of knowledge because of technology. What our generation took years to learn from books is available to them at a click of a button. So let's bring them into our fold to build a nation that they'll be living in. How can you help the youth to revolutionize, this entire nation? In what ways can the youth bring about this much required change? One, education. Let's get our youth educated for them to be positive contributors and not just an exploited generation at the hands of, these cunning politicians. Education empowers you with the ability to think, to tell the right from the wrong, good from the bad. In a country like India, where traditions and customs is sometimes bigger than humanity itself, education is not an option, it's a necessity. Politics. The young generation is no longer turning a blind eye to politics and the government. More and more people from the young generation are expressing interest in politics and the way the country is governed. If 229 million and counting, they join hands to decide that they will free this country of corruption, what can stop them? So let that idealism become a reality. However, let the induction into the politics start with community work so that they understand the needs of society and that they're aiming to govern. Then the third very important part is the social media. Given that the shy Indian youth has got their voice to speak their mind, voicing opinions, asking questions, these are the first steps to nation building. The youth has mastered it. Let them not become a slave of it. 4. Community service. At an age where hearts have not yet hardened to the suffering, youth can easily be guided towards community work. If you notice, young people have done a tremendous job during these difficult times. Whether it was helping COVID patients, managing distribution of food, oxygen, raising funds, young people from all communities have risen to the challenge. They are passionate, motivated, strong-willed, so they can be the winds of social change. However, there's a flip side. The huge population of these young, energetic Indians is ripe to be led astray and cause havoc that we've seen in Kashmir. So if we keep the youth deprived of the infrastructure, employment, and appropriate role models for them to get motivated, and oppressive diktats from politicians, our so-called leaders, they're likely to either go into their cocoons or rebel, and both are lethal. They'll have lethal consequences for the nation. So educating the youth is our top priority. Teaching them skills to earn a livelihood comes next, and awakening their moral and social character is very, very important. So what they need is good role models. We see a lot of good role models here, and that's what I see in this forum. Youth ready to be motivated, ready to take on the challenge of nation building. And if youth make their voices heard and resolve to make a change, there is no reason that India cannot be the greatest nation in the world in every sense of the term. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Rana, for your words of wisdom. Ma'am, what role do you think the youth could and should play in nation building?
Issue with this whole thing of youth taking up responsibility is the issue with us adults. We are somehow not able to give the society the kind of role models that the youth deserves. And given that the society is not giving you those kind of role models, I think just the need for change should drive you enough to make that change. And youth today is not only aware, they are empowered enough, especially the urban youth, to make that change in spite of the fact that around you, what concerns me a lot is that around you, you don't have the kind of environment that you should have as young people. And I think because the world, it's a long time since the world has seen that major strife. So I somehow have a lot of hope in this calamity, that with this coming and with the kind of atmosphere there is in the world, strife happens, and that is how we evolve. And that is how our youth will think of. It's a basic instinct in humans to preserve humanity, preserve the race. I think that this will drive you to preserve this race, humanity, and youth will rise to this challenge that's been thrown up. And that is why I'm always very, very positive about whatever negative happens in the world. Because from negativity always arises the positivity. The nation building happens after a lot of destruction has happened. And now that so much erosion has happened, not in terms of physical terms, but in moral values. I think this is where the youth I see is now coming up a lot to repair that change. So that gives me a lot of hope, and that is where I think our young people are headed now. I see more and more people coming in to repair the whatever wrong has gone into society. So I'm very hopeful. Thank you.
Now we'll move on to our next question. This one is from Mrs. Rana. How does the political scenario help or hinder the youth in its pursuit to build the nation?
I'm somehow, Shwardhan, very disappointed with the political scenario, and I think most of us are. I have not lost hope, but I really believe that we need a lot of youth coming up in this scenario, because like I said, this is an age where you are full of dreams, you are full of, you have very idealistic ideas. And we people are not giving the youth opportunity because of those idealistic ideas. And that is exactly why we should give the youth this opportunity. So, little disappointed with what is happening, but and very little that I feel that we can do except guide the youth. We people have reached an age and stage where actively we can do precious little. So what in our role we could guide the youth into taking up roles where you could make the change. So probably that is why I see tremendous hope in today's youth. And like Colonel Parab said, it starts from here, from small things. So when you people study, when you people take up responsibility in schools, these are baby steps. So as you go ahead, you will take up further responsibility. So I just hope the few of us who are left, whether it's in the education field or otherwise, there's a lot of good people around. Unfortunately, the political leadership is not stepping up. So we can, if we can do little about the political leadership, what we can do is being good role models and guiding you well, so that you come up into politics and not treat it as a dirty business, and not where you don't want to soil your hands. Somebody has to soil their hands and get it out of that pit, and that is you.
Yes, that's so true. Thank you, ma'am, for your answer. What do you think about parents and surrounding? Do they play an important role in the formation of correct mindset of the youth?
Definitely. Why not? Because parents are actually, they have a huge role in molding a child's character. And no matter what, schools have a great role too. But schools come a little later in life, into a child's life. The home atmosphere is very important. And what I find is that somewhere parents have stopped, being educated about the changes in the environment. So that is why I strongly feel that there is a need for parent upgradation of knowledge also. It is not knowledge in terms of academics, but knowledge in terms of how children are maturing in this environment. They need to sort of upgrade themselves. And that is what I consciously do in the school. I have a lot of, parent education meetings, because I feel if you educate the parents and get their mindsets correct, the children automatically find it much easier to bloom. So our job becomes much easier as educators, because we have the parental support. So, and basically another thing, what I feel that why the parents are so important is because no matter how much of moral education, value education we do in schools, when the child goes home and he sees this atmosphere at home where, say a father is a simple thing, like, he's not paying up his dues, or he tells the child to lie, he's not at home while he is, these simple acts. This is where a child gets this dichotomy in teaching and what he sees. So it's very important that the parents realize that they're always on camera when they have their children. Once you have a child, you are always, on display. Whatever you do, the child imbibes, no matter what you tell. So this is an important thing that the parents have to learn, have to, be very conscious about. And that is why a big role for parents to play.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your views. Now we'll come to our last question. What things that the youth should bear in mind on their way to nation building? Mrs. Rana, what do you think about the things that you should bear?
Yes, Vardhan, I think Colonel Parab has given you the basics of, what a child should do, and very practical advice. And Dr. Vora has added, another dimension to it. To me, I think what the youth needs to do today is to be accountable for his or own behavior. What we see in schools is that accountability, responsibility is lacking. Children, just feel they're studying because the parents want it. They are doing their homework because the teacher has asked them to do. There is, and anything that goes wrong, I've never, most of the times I don't see students taking on the responsibility of, things that go wrong. If the child has not done well, it is either the teacher's not given adequate marks, or the mother did not pay adequate attention because she was busy. There's somebody else to blame. And this kind of behavior, when translated into adulthood, can be disastrous, because when as an individual you don't take responsibility for your actions, you cannot be successful about anything. You cannot improve. So this is, I think, a basic trait you young people must imbibe, is to be responsible for your own behavior. Decide that your life is your own. If you're choosing a career, stand by it. If you're choosing a path, stand by it and be responsible for it. If you make a mistake, own up responsibility, change your path and walk ahead, and not blame the whole world for it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to thank all the panelists for participating in the panel discussion and for enlightening our delegates with your fascinating answers. It was an honor and a privilege to have you all, and we will forever be grateful to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We really enjoyed the session, and a lovely meeting Dr. Vora. I know Colonel Parab very well, and he is an educator at heart. And, I think every pore of his is dedicated to education and children. I've met Dr. Vora for the first time. Pleasure meeting you, and very impressive. Your credentials are very impressive, and hope to see more of you in other forums also. Thank you.
Before we take leave, I just want to recall something that probably happened almost 20 years back. Colonel Parab was addressing the morning assembly at RIMC, and it was one of those motivational talks, and all the cadets were glued absolutely, to what he would say. And he read a beautiful poem. It was like the essence was "Get up and win the race." I don't know whether he can recall that, but Geeta ma'am had pulled that out of one of the books that we read. And it was like the father sitting in the audience, the son is running a race, and many of you would have read it. And then so many times he falters, he falls, and he just kind of sending a very quiet and strong message across that, everything's all right. Okay, things are not working, but then eventually just get up and win the race. And, the telepathy just kind of trickled across, and finally the child got up and made it to the end at least and completed the race. It was very beautiful. It left an indelible impression on my mind, and I'm sure with a lot of cadets also. And I still read that out to so many of my students. So thank you, Kanpar, for giving us that mentorship, wherein we still carry forward your legacy even till date. You wouldn't know it because you've impacted so many lives, but we definitely are still kind of like reliving those moments and helping children out.
Thank you for remembering the old times. And also this, I do remember this quite vividly, this example which you gave. It was a very good example. Never give up, to carry on with life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yashvardhan, that reiterates what I said. You see, Dr. Vora today is such an eminent person, and what she remembers is the role model that was there. So this is how adults make an impact, negative or positive. And this is, I think, this whole example has summed up what we said about the youth. And we need to have these kind of role models, and youth need to remember and follow the role models that are positive. You have a lot of negativity also, so it's up to you for your wisdom to decide whom to follow. After so many years, she remembers that poem, and it still motivates her. That says a lot for an educator, a guide, a mentor.